Sorry, I like dived into this because I felt like snacking.
Oh, yeah. There we go. Where am I? I'm here.
You want them out of sight or?
No, who gives a shit?
You want?
Yeah, I'll have a go. Oh, look out. That's good. Holy shit.
Surprisingly, you fucking nailed it. Some good shit.
I just picked whatever.
Let's see if that trick works. Like you're looking at the camera and like looking at you. Does that look good?
It actually looks like you were looking half at the camera and half at me.
Like a retard with two eyes.
The eyes were diverging.
How about now?
No, you're just looking at me or the camera. Like, what? What's going on? Actually, I'm going to... let me just bring this camera up a bit. There we go. That's more like it. Yeah. All right. So, what's the deal? You program.
Someone call it programming.
Programming.
Or script kiddie.
Okay.
Talking about the difference between a script kiddie and a script adult. I think I've kind of like elevated my level.
So, what software have you made, or you do software or websites or something like that?
Yeah, a bit of both. Like, made different stuff over the years. Like, we were doing some this bin. We called it Sortie, which was like an AI bin to like, if you don't know what you're going to throw in the bin and which bin it goes into, like the red, the yellow, the green, whatever, it would just like sort it for you.
Wait, this is an AI program.
Yeah, it's an AI bin. Yeah, and it's like it's got an AI sits on top of it, and a simple like sorting mechanism. So we like made that.
You made the neural net?
No, I was too lazy. I like pretended I made it. Yeah, I think I was using some Google's like neural net thing, and I was just feeding it like images.
So you trained it?
But it was pretty good pre-trained. It, like, it knew what a banana was, which was helpful. And like, yeah, so it was like training it to like know what kind of garbage is what. Okay. So the idea was you get a high hit rate, even though it's not perfect. When somebody throws something in the bin, there was a few issues, but the idea was to like
give me an example. What do you throw in this bin?
Say you're in a shopping center, you just ordered your, I don't know, like curry, like some curry thing, and then like now you've got the plate with like remaining liquid shit on it. We got your forks, you got your soda. This stuff has like a 10-cent rebate.
Yeah.
Yeah, so say you wanted the 10-cent rebate, but like, you know, you didn't want to like collect it like a fucking hobo or some shit. Or one of those old Asian ladies where just go around collecting the 10-cent bottles.
Yeah.
You know, so the idea was we'd put these things in like shopping centers or on street public parks or whatever, and people could just go like drop this off, potentially get the 10 cents if they want, or you give that 10 cents to, or a portion of it to like Westfields. So they can like turn these things into like monetizing, they can monetize their bins. But the main thing was like they were passing a bunch of legislation around ESG, like environmental social good. Basically to like pretend to like force these companies to like, you know, care about the environment and their pollution and their waste and all of that kind of stuff. So this was like forcing them to like look at their rubbish. They were hiring people that like head of sustainability, crap like that, you know?
Yeah.
And that was like kind of a boon for like how I was going to play this. The idea was that you would, yeah, it's like spinning a marketing story to say like, look, we're trying to like help them reduce their waste. And it was. The only difference was if you understood the supply chain of waste, that waste was going to end up in the same fucking place anyway.
I was going to say that.
Yeah.
I saw the whole story on that thing.
It's a scam. The whole waste industry is a scam. But, yeah, for those that wouldn't know, it's like, okay, you'd put the bit, you'd separate yourself. You'd be like, I'm a good recycler. And then when they come pick it up in the truck, they'd throw it all in the same bin. Then they would take that, say from Sydney, they'll take it to Melbourne or something. And then from there, like put it on the ship to like China or somewhere else.
I was going to say that too, yeah.
And then they'd put it in like a dump and then they'd like burn it. Or they just like leave it there for a while. Or like bury it or whatever. And so that's really how the waste industry kind of works. And it's like, and in between that and how it actually works is a lot of bullshit, a lot of regulatory capture of like only certain people can like handle waste. Partially because a lot of the companies that own the waste management companies were actually like mafia. Not just as a cartel, but there were actual like mafia guys that were like, hey man, it's better if we just go into like owning garbage trucks and shit. And it works. Like, and so you're forced to pay council rates to like pick up your crap. Whereas in Australia, I think it was the 70s or 80s, before they passed some like pollution legislation, they used to have incinerators in backyards, like a fire pit, like a barbecue, where you'd burn your own trash. And why do you have to pay for some garbage guy to pick it up?
You can't do that now?
No. Pollution laws.
Oh, wow.
You know, you can't start fires in your backyard.
What about barbecue?
No one told my dad, but you can have a barbecue.
So what if you disguise the barbecue as...
You're speaking my dad's language. That's what you're doing right now.
Jeez.
And so that became a whole industry, a whole cartel, to the point like the legislation in New South Wales is there are specific suburbs or areas that are owned by specific waste management companies. So they've legislated like, not a, what would you call it? Not a monopoly, a duopoly of sorts, a cartel. This region belongs to this company, this region belongs to this company, this region belongs to this company. And it's literally legislatively there that like we're giving these companies monopolies over certain areas. And you can argue there's reasons for that, like economies of scale, like the same garbage company would pick up from everyone on that street and shit like that. But
Jesus.
That's just one industry, bro. The whole of society is fucking regulatory captured. Like, that's why I don't give a fuck about laws anymore. It's just the whole, like every industry, man.
Fire.
It's pretty sad. The only industries that won't were like the cheap Chinese Temu shit that you'd get.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like, because like they would just send you a bunch of crap and like there's no legislation onto that other than maybe like they have to charge GST or something. And I'm like, so my analysis of like why societies, I feel like in Australia, people have kind of been getting poorer, but like the offset of that is the deflation by Chinese crap so that you think that you're getting richer. You know, like you pay more for student shit, you pay more for mortgages, for houses, for like they've cartelled everything. Garbage, they've cartelled like every part of society, but like the only offset is like having your cheap Temu shit that breaks after a week. But you're like, oh look, I'm rich. I got a nice crappy watch or table,
whatever it is.
Whatever it is. I haven't really spoken to you like 101.
Oh yeah. What's this camera angle form? Ooh. So how do you meet Parser?
I don't know if he wants me to talk about what he does.
In Stefan, I guess, yeah.
Well, there was this hackathon both my friends were kind of running. Around AI and stuff, you know. I wasn't that long ago, about a year and a half, 2 years ago, something. Maybe a year and a half.
Yeah.
And then, they're like, oh, come along, have a look. I was coming along, having a look. And then one of the projects was similar to something I was working on. It's like a AI sales caller.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I
Those
just
are
wanted-
going to be big.
I was like, it's a perfect opportunity to like scam people. Right, it was okay.
I have something to say about
Cool
that
to know.
in a sec. Yeah.
Yeah. And then like he also was working on something related at the hackathon with another friend of mine who was also there in this project. And I thought he was just like, and he was like cocky. He was like, oh mate, I already solved that problem like in the span of a hackathon that I was spending like 3 weeks trying to solve.
Oh.
And I was like, fuck off. And then like bullshit.
Wait. This is Parser.
Yeah, but also.
Ugh.
And then I was like, bullshit. I was right. It was bullshit. He faked it. He faked the thing, and I was like, oh, you busted. But he's smart enough to have faked it. And I was like, oh, this kid's smart, but he seems like a nerd, like a little kid. But I was like, I asked him for his phone number in case he wanted to work on this, like, you know. And then, yeah, and then there was another friend that invited us all to a barbecue. Turns out this kid was really into crypto. Turns out he's into a lot of things that I was really into, but he's just really good at like showing people the image or version of himself that they want to see.
It's
Like a good kind
chameleon.
of snake.
Chameleon.
Yeah, chameleon. And so I saw like just like a kid, not what he later revealed himself to me to be, like
Okay.
one of the homies. Right.
Jeez.
Yeah. And then Ollie, like, I met him somewhere as well.
He is so smart. He just rings around me.
He does. Fame. I think we all agree he's smart. Except people don't want to trust him with, like, if they have a child, they don't want to keep their child next to him.
Oh, dear.
I think it's a common theory that he's, like, the most psychopathic out of that friend group.
Oh, okay.
What do you reckon?
I haven't met him that much. Like I've met him just a few times. I've only spoken to him about just AI and all that stuff, and he's like, he'll bring up questions. Like I'll ask him a question that I thought it was insightful,
Yeah.
and immediately he will fire back 2 or 3 or 4 other follow-up questions that I didn't even think about. So it's like, yeah, he's a smart cookie.
Really should show him.
Well, what was that thing that you said before about, are you building an AI to scam people with sales?
Yeah.
Right, this is-
It was a sales AI. It wasn't intent on scamming people, but, like, you can totally use it for that. I'm sure you can sell it to some Indians that'll...
See, this is what I think, because I've been thinking about kind of, it's the singularity kind of, so it's so hard to try and see. But I was thinking that this is kind of how I think it's going to go. So because humans are, we're in the era of specialization, right? You're good at a couple of things and that's it. It's like you rely on the rest of society. So you're a builder, a carpenter, a doctor, a nurse, whatever.
So I told my girlfriend she's not very, very good at much.
Well, then we've got these AI brains, and they are pretty much good at everything, or eventually they will be, which means that we are approaching an era where just the level of gullibility will be so great amongst every individual human. How would you even engage with these AIs? Because the AIs would run rings around you.
I mean, you can't tell if they're AIs or they're just...
Yeah,
What's
it
smarter
would be
and-
impossible to tell. So I'm thinking, yes, you get to a stage where every person can be scammed by an AI because of this, the level of general ignorance about most things, except the area that you specialize in. So we would need to have our own AI that's on our side, that knows us intimately and has our best interests. And then when we want something from the outside world, we engage that AI, our AI, and our AI goes and talks to the public AI. And then we go through that system, because otherwise how would you trust that other AI? You can't.
It's a fair point. Yeah.
But then that will trickle through the rest of society. So
Yeah.
they would have perfect personalities. So we would
Be the chameleon.
well, they would be the chameleon, yeah. So it's like they would be our best friends, and with robotics and everything, they could be partners. So then you have, especially if the technology progresses in all these directions, and you get the ability for humans to be birthed outside the womb, then you will have the complete decoupling of male and female dependencies. So you'd have, for the first time ever, women will have absolutely no need for men, and men would have absolutely no need for women.
Yeah.
You could have the first ever real female-only country.
Yeah. That's a
I
good
mean,
point.
it's just because they would have all of their force projection would be assigned to, AI and automata.
I just want to get in the tampon business. If that exists,
Yeah. So, I mean, things are changing.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting. I don't know, like my whole AI thesis, like thinking, if somebody else wrote it and I read it on X or something. Right? It's like, in the past, a lot of societies always thought in gods and angels and devils and spirits and
The supernatural.
And that was like kind of what we're talking about with AI, just like the scientist's version of that. Like,
Yeah. Because everything will go vertical on the graphs. It's like, forget the 22nd, 23rd century. Try the 52nd century. We'll be like just catapulted towards.
yeah, for sure. Because what I call it, exponential
Yeah.
curve. I don't really care. I'll be honest with you. I thought a lot about it, and it turns out I just don't care. Because like all of human history has always thought there was something smarter than them, better than them, omnipotent, the omnipotent God.
The God, yeah. God complex, or whatever it's called. Yeah.
I just think we're like, who knows, maybe like the Romans were the same, that we think that we have control over life and society and people, and that's why we're kind of, should we be scared of this thing? Because for the first time, we're like kind of decoupled from the idea of the supernatural, but then we're also creating the supernatural. So I think it stems from this idea of like we're in control of our fates and the universe and things like that. And I think that's why you have to, people asking questions, or should we fear it? Should we do something about it? Should we not do something about it? What does that world look like? I don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, so what? Like, if you have an AI that takes over, we took over from, the other apes that were around. I think we killed the Neanderthals or something.
Oh, yeah, that's right, yeah.
The
That's why there's no in between, yeah.
The lions were like the king of the jungle. It's like until we built a tranquilizer or like a spear, like whatever. Like, people just maybe scared of like being replaced by something that's smarter than them. That's why people don't like immigrants. It's like,
Oh, yeah. From decades ago, yeah, that's right. So it's kind of like you got power and choice. Oh, no. Control and choice. So do you have the control? And if you do have the control, what would you choose? But I think that those are almost all illusions. Because like some things that we think we have control over, we don't really control. And other things where we have a choice, we don't really have a choice. Kind of like these chips.
yeah.
We think, oh yeah, I like the taste of those. You think that's a choice? It's
Yeah.
not. It's not a choice.
It's not a choice.
Taste is not a choice. You put the chip in your mouth
Yeah.
and your taste buds process it, and your taste buds tell your brain, this is nice. Otherwise, you could just say before you eat a chocolate cake, yeah, I'm going to like that.
Yeah.
You don't. You don't, because
Yeah.
You have to taste the chocolate cake, and you're just whatever your brain decides. That's it.
That's it.
Even down to attraction, right?
Yeah, you don't know why you're.
Because you would have like what makes a people attracted to each other. Okay, oh yeah, a man sees a woman, it's whatever, the facial features, fertility cues, whatever it is. But that's not a choice.
You think it's like hardwired?
It's hardwired. It's like attraction is many things, but it's not a choice. So, and if it were a choice, if you were in a relationship, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, you go, okay, I'm with that person. I'll just turn the attraction off because it's my choice. You can't.
Can't.
It's there. So it's
Do you think
like
women have that choice too?
I think that they can't turn it off either.
They say they fall out of in love with you and stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't think it's their choice either. It's just whatever is in their brain that they're making these decisions. It's just a feeling.
Interesting.
So, getting back to that point about perceived control and choice,
Yeah.
is it like
It's like you want to do the right thing, like say, eat your vegetables, don't eat sugar or whatever. But yeah, like the kid just prefers sugar or whatever or vegetables.
yeah, it's and you go down the whole determinism rabbit hole. Are we just here because we don't choose anything? Like if you look at, say, like the argument is the whole world, the whole universe it functions on physics, chemistry, quantum effects, that sort of thing. So, and it can be calculated. So if everything happens because of either chemical,
Reaction.
electromagnetic, whatever, gravity, force, that means that when you take something like the human brain and you zoom in, at what point is it a choice? At what point are we actually deciding stuff? Because if it's a neuron firing, well, the neuron fired because the electrical potential reached a certain point and the electrons jumped.
Yeah. It's a good point.
I mean, are we?
It's determinism versus.
It's determinism. Like, so are we just
Yeah.
similar to like paint drying or rocks falling off a cliff?
Yeah.
They'll just be calculated. It looks random, but it's it'll happen the same way over and over.
Yeah, we're just in a game, in a simulation of some sort. It's playing itself out.
Yeah, and yet we feel like we are choosing because it just helps us navigate the world.
Do you think that's like a response to like, a cognitive model that we've kind of adopted, that like we have to have choice, like we have choice in the matter rather than it was supposed to happen?
So this is something that I remember seeing on some YouTube clip.
Yeah.
It was about primates, and it was something about the way we, our social structure in back when we were with like in the primate level, we had to know what other primates were thinking. So we would create simulations of the other person in our mind so that we could navigate the social structure and not get smashed or killed and also procreate, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So, and then if we could make models of others, we could make models of ourselves. And when we look at ourselves, self-reflection, we're just looking at the simulation we made for us.
For us, yeah.
Which...
It's usually inaccurate.
Yeah, actually, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is inaccurate. So, well, I guess then it would just be like our ego is just our way of self-reflecting, or actually, I'm not sure, but
But I think it's like the constraints as well in the model, right? Where like no one talks about if they've thought, like a bad thought, because you're not supposed to say things publicly because of shame. So you wouldn't constantly, you wouldn't be like, oh, hey man, wouldn't that be like a hot chick to rape? Like you wouldn't.
Gosh.
You know what I mean?
That you wouldn't. Yeah, right. Yeah,
but you might have thought that,
Yeah.
But it's dangerous for you to think that somebody else thinks that. So people don't even discuss things like that because they don't even want to allow that thought in the model of you seeing me. Because now you're like, oh, this guy's a bit dangerous. Like, this guy's a bit weird. Like, why is he talking about stuff like that? It's like what Oprah says, like, from what people say, you should believe that that's their behavior. Whereas
yes, I know that one. Yeah, so when someone shows them who they are, believe them.
Believe them.
Yeah.
Whereas Batman's the opposite way, where it's like, you should judge them based on their actions, not on what they say.
Yeah.
And like that's like a different cognitive model that I've noticed people have. Whereas me, like I wouldn't give a fuck what you say. I'm just like you're exploring the idea for fun because you're bored, or it's like a kid just saying a bunch of random shit to you. Like it doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
It's like if you've committed an act that I've taken is against me or for whatever reason, or then I like look at that. But people don't look at things like that. They'll go based on, and that depends on the culture and the cognitive model that people have. And
I think it's like realist versus idealist in a way.
In a way, yeah.
So if you've been through a lot of shit, you would be a realist because you'll go, okay, the world ideally looks like this, but actually it's performing like this, and now I believe the world is like this. Whereas an idealist will be, I see the world as it's crappy, but it could be better.
I had a conversation with one of my politics friends. He's one of the smartest guys I know in politics, and like he was trying to move the US to preferential voting as opposed to like the first past the ballot thing. So like
like Australia's system.
Like Australia's system. Yeah. And he's been successfully pushing it in the US. They got a few states to turn over that. Because the idea is like we both share this like kind of anarchist philosophy of like if you create local communities with local choice where they vote on everything, you'll have a much better system overall. And like, but he was so caught up in like the last election that he thought he was scared of authoritarianism that he believed Trump to be. Even him, like he kind of got swayed in that way just by living in Washington. And he's smart enough to like not be swayed by all that stuff. What was I saying? It's like because he's fundamentally he's an idealist. We got down to the point of like he needs to believe that people aren't just capable of like gore, violence, murder, shit like that. That we have to like, it's sort of Buddhist where it's like love conquers all. And he has to believe that, and that drives all of his motivation towards anything and how he views the world. And like, and I was like trying to tell him that like I don't know if you call it like a lazy excuse, but I've kind of moved my philosophy a little bit into, I don't know if you call it like agnostic or omnism or whatever, which is like not trying to take a say. I'm like, I would use whatever cognitive model, like path, like a chameleon, that like. And this is something Ollie said is like, it doesn't matter as long as it's useful to you. So if the belief
pragmatism,
is useful, and pragmatism. And I'm like, well, I would change my cognitive view of the world at any given time. Like say I've got access to like 10 different cognitive models, right? I can go, oh, the way you're staring at me, it's like, it means you want to start a fight or kill me or whatever. The other way is you're just thinking, or like, I can have so many different iterations of what,
competing thoughts
and ideas, and those can establish and group together and form different cognitive models.
Build consensus.
And so it's like, but I can pick whichever one I'm currently using for whatever time, and like swap them out and have a bit of fun. It's like playing the game as a different character every time.
And changing your point of view. Isn't that like mixture of experts with AI?
Yeah. Yeah. What do you mean? Explain.
Well, the way they tried to mitigate hallucinations is they would get different models that have been trained on different data sets and they would ask them the same question and see what they get back. And if there's outliers, then you would assume that's a hallucination. And you know what else? Human beings hallucinate all the time. I hallucinate all the time.
Yeah. Got some.
we
good
still
shrooms or
have
something.
a civilization.
Yeah.
We just rely on things like we'll write it down, we'll use spreadsheets, we'll use calculators, we'll double check our work and all this. And it's been working. We still haven't gotten rid of our hallucinations, but we've just figured out workarounds. So when people go, oh, the AIs, they can hallucinate. I think, okay, they hallucinate, we hallucinate. And plus, we're getting the AIs to do something that we don't do. It's like if we had to do a task, we would break the task up, we would start it, we would go back, we would we go all over the place. And for them to just one shot start talking and don't even look back and go from beginning to end, for them to have that much cognitive ability to like even be half as good as what they are, I think it's like that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, they do the weave, as Trump calls it. They start talking and then weave it back to the point.
Oh yeah, they go all over
They're
the
good.
place.
They kind of like design a model that's like good at shit talking to get to the point and then make it useful. They're kind of like a good politician in that way. Tell everyone what they kind of want to hear eventually.
Yeah, well, if I had to do one shot, I would be terrible.
Yeah.
I would be worse than the AIs, like way worse than GPT-3 maybe
Yeah.
at many things. But like,
because your default nature or just something you can train up though.
oh, actually, that's a good point. I don't know. But I'm so used to thinking not like that. I'll probably stumble. Maybe that's an initial thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're finding so many workarounds. And this new one, O3, and how it has thinking.
Breaks it down, the tasks.
It looks like we're getting there. And then there's a new thing that came out about surprise and how the AIs can pay attention to something surprising.
Really?
Yeah, it's like this latest greatest thing since the Transformer.
Really?
I haven't really looked into it because I've just been burnt out.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's going to come. It's going to come. Who cares? It's
cares?
going to come. It's just like, yeah.
Pastor, how does it feel to like losing the game Colonist twice to me, who you consider a low IQ friend?
It feels wonderful. Be charitable and let you think you know.
That you play it like many hours every day, thinking that you're game theory optimal, and then he goes, bro, that wasn't game theory optimal, and then he loses after like a bitch going, whoa, yeah.
I said that you were lying to Brendan, tricking him into thinking his moves were good, so you could just exploit him.
It sounds like the same thing about that guy that tricked people about a dragon's breath vape.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds similar.
It's like, wasn't it? I remember that chat. It's like someone was trading 1-to-1, and then there was more than that's all I remember. But isn't that part of the rules? Isn't that how you play the game anyway?
What, Colin? I didn't trick Brendan at all. He's just saying that so that he can make it look like I'm a manipulator. So the next time we play, Brendan doesn't trust me. And so what happened was,
Explain what happened.
I traded a resource, one resource for one resource, 1-to-1.
3 pieces from Brendan.
And then, so I traded 3 resources for 3 resources from Brendan. He gave me all
3
stone.
resources that you needed more than him.
He gave me 3 stones, right? This is the same resource. I gave him 3 different things. I gave him like a
You were already
tree,
like 3 points
a sheep,
ahead of him.
and
Equal trades aren't good for him because they just guarantee you win.
and then Parcel makes a trade with Brendan where he gets way more out of the deal than Brendan does, and then he says that I was manipulating Brendan. How does it? No, I wasn't. I gave him 1-to-1 trades.
You were lying about what trades are good to him.
I didn't say this trade is good for you. I'm saying, do you want this? And then he was like, yeah. And that was it. I didn't say this was good for you. You were the one saying this is good and this is bad for you. I was just playing the game.
No, he kept offering him really shitty deals, knowing it's his first time playing.
It wasn't a shit deal. It was good for me and it was good for him.
It was good for you.
That's why we both me and him beat Parser by like a huge margin. Parser got 3 out of 10. Brendan got like 6 and I got 10. And Parser just got dominated.
Oh my gosh.
You could have traded with him. You could have like equalized.
I didn't have anything he needed, and he didn't have anything I needed.
All right, but
couldn't trade, so you were just there exploiting him.
still, when it was 1-on-1, I still beat you. So I was laughing. He's like, "Do you want to play again?" I was like, "Say I'm the champion," and he goes, "You're the champion. Do you want to play again?" I was like, "No," and to pass on. And then he goes, and then yeah, and then I wanted to own the win, because low key, like you're not always gonna win games, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, "No, I'm gonna hold it over you for like a week just to make you feel," because I know he fucking hates losing, Pasa with a passion, especially when he thinks that it's someone dumber than him. Like he just absolutely hates it. And then I was like gonna hold it over him. And then Brendan came in, and you were there on the call. I'm like, I'll play if there's more players. I really wanted to play if Ollie was there, because I just wanted to whoop him. I really want.
He's so bad, but he acts like he's so good.
Apparently he rage quit from a game with Parcel like 3 moves in because
Ollie.
yeah, because like he's really smart, right? But he's actually really shit at games unless it's Mafia. You play him in Mafia, he's fucking good. Like he manipulates everyone. We played him on the farm. It was fucking scary.
He doesn't even manipulate everyone. It's just like 2 turns in, he tells you the exact outcome of the game.
Yeah, that's true.
There's no point playing because you know what's gonna happen.
Yeah, that's actually true. Yeah.
That's scary.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
That was a fun night. We got to get you up on the farm. There's some drugs. There was a butcher. Fable story from that night.
Mother just texted me a picture of Uber Eats asking what he should get.
Yeah. I don't know. Like the thing is, I thought you know how they always play pool. I like Stefan and Ollie and all that. They always go play pool.
I've seen some of the chat.
They're constantly playing.
I
pool.
thought Stefan just constantly drinks.
Yeah, but they pretend to play pool as an excuse.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So I'm like thinking, oh, they're actually good at pool. Like I'm, I went along, bro. Ollie's so shit at pool, bro. Like he's actually so bad at it. It's not even funny, bro. And I was like, man, I haven't played in such a long time. And then it was so I enjoyed playing Ollie in games just to like put him in his place.
Oh.
Yeah, because in conversations he's cocky. Like he knows like
He knows
he's the
so
smartest
much.
person in the room.
Yeah.
But like when it comes to games, it's like
Reaction time is a factor. He's a replicant.
he is. So what's been interesting in your life? How's it like being a dad, bro? No one talks about this. Is that a boring topic for you?
I really didn't like the beginning. Oh, the beginning, like the very beginning, holding.
Well, you birthed the AI.
Yeah, when I like held them for the first time, it was just
Gross. It's like seeing your sperm after you ejaculate. You're just like, what the fuck is this?
it's like surreal,
It's-
surreal. But we had some issues like with our first kid. With our first kid, he was born a bit. There were some complications, and it was when he was born, he had to be put on oxygen, and
Fuck.
yeah, it was just. It was I had 3. I got into a sleep cycle where I was only. Somehow my internal clock was set for 3 hours sleep. I didn't even think that was possible.
Really? You just wake up every 3 hours.
As in, like, I would go to sleep.
Yeah.
Let's say I go to sleep at 2 o'clock, 2 a.m.
Yeah.
I would get up at 5 a.m. even if I didn't need to.
And that like did you feel that like, oh shit,
It was. I was
the
like,
cops are coming, or do you feel that nervous like feeling, or
no, I was.
was it just like natural,
It was because
even like a relaxed waking up, not like a stressed waking up?
I think I was okay, but I'm pretty sure that would have been extremely stressful on the body. It wasn't something you wanted to keep going. Like I needed to get my clock back once all the issues went away.
Anyway.
And our kid was doing okay. That was the thing. Our kid was doing okay. We left the hospital.
Yeah.
But when I was at home, I kept on only having 3 hours. And I'm like, my body adjusted to 3 hours.
Yeah.
And it took about a week to get back up to like 6+ hours.
That's kind of insane.
Yeah, I didn't even know it was possible.
Yeah.
So
Sorry to hear that he like the oxygen thing. Did you
Yeah.
like he think like, okay, should this baby actually make it because it doesn't have oxygen? Were you like,
that never crossed my mind.
yeah,
Probably because that was a thought that I wouldn't think of.
wouldn't entertain?
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
It was just so much anxiety. Just so much anxiety.
Anxiety.
Because I couldn't do anything.
What do you think it came from? Like not being able to do anything? I don't know.
There was this thing called a bloody show
Mm.
where it just she had to be rushed into emergency cesarean.
Fuck. Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah. So that's what happened.
What was the psychological thinking about that? Was it like, you know, am I not a good father if this baby dies? I'm scared my wife will pass or something.
Oh yeah, I
like-
was scared of that.
Yeah.
But it just all happened so quickly. Like it went from we're about to, any day now to we're at the hospital and there needs to be an emergency C-section. Otherwise, I can't remember exactly what the doctor said. The doctor put it in a delicate way, and it was something bad.
Yeah.
And it wasn't my decision. She had to make the decision,
Yeah.
and she didn't want a C-section.
Ah, she wanted to birth it.
Yeah, and the doctor said, like she was getting these, I can't remember, these contractions, and every time they would get a contraction, the babies, something would happen to the baby,
right. Fuck.
and so that's why I said, look, you have to do C-section. So
Right.
yeah, so in the beginning, it was crazy because these little things were they couldn't do anything themselves, and they wouldn't tell you what's wrong with them.
Wouldn't tell you what's wrong with them.
I'm used to programming. I'm used to if there's
what's the error?
if there's an error,
Yeah.
you can figure it out. You
Stack
can
Overflow.
you can look at the memory. You can put variables. You can put a stop condition. You can do whatever.
Do whatever.
This one, they would just start crying.
Fuck.
You're like, what is it? Then you have to go through the checklist. Are they hot?
Yeah.
Are they cold?
Yeah.
Are they hungry? Did they just poo themselves?
Yeah.
And then I found out, okay, there is a way to
Tell.
tell. You just go through the checklist.
Checklist and find out.
It's because they soiled themselves.
You ever like let them cry? Just like
Furberizing. Yeah, we eventually had to do that. It's actual hell because you want to go in there,
yeah.
but you shouldn't.
Is it because you feel that like it's part of you, or do you think it's just hearing someone cry that you want to help?
I think it's because before society, before the way we live now,
Yeah.
that's what we would do. The babies would be with us all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when you move the baby away from you, it cries. And apparently the frequency it cries,
Yeah.
it is the most sensitive part of our hearing frequency. But because we live in society and we need to work and blah, 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 we do this thing where we separate them and
Separate
get them
it.
used to it.
I was thinking about that as well, like that high frequency thing, like, because like, do you think that naturally you know how I feel like we pay more attention to when guys speak than women? Is that just me? Or it's like when you when you have someone speak. No, but when you have someone speak with authority, you remember like that Elizabeth
Oh, right,
girl,
right.
where she
Yes,
like
yes,
lowered
yes.
her tone of voice to be
Yep.
convincing.
Yeah. So I have two things that are in opposite. They're in competition with each other. Yes. So if it's a manly voice,
Yeah.
people pay attention. But you notice that I think it was the F-16 or just the navigation system in general of fighter jets is a female voice because the pilots will pay attention to the voice more than the male voice.
Really?
Yeah.
Fuck. Yeah.
So I guess
Is it because they're under so much stress and G load that like
yeah, I mean, I don't know what it is. I mean, when you're in a fight or flight situation, I don't know what their mental state would be in. But when there's a female saying "pull up," there's you're about to hit the ground.
Yeah.
You're gonna pay attention to the female more somehow.
Interesting.
Who knows?
Is it because it's more annoying? Like, no, I'm serious. Like,
That could be a point.
I witnessed the guy like losing his shit because his wife was divorcing him and taking the kid, right? And he loved the kid, and he was absolutely losing his shit. And the person that was comforting him was a high-pitched female. And then I had my friend, his also name's Roy, on the phone, and he was like, "It's like, do you want to like maybe like pull away the woman from him because maybe that's making him more traumatized because he's just had, breaking up with a woman, so that high frequency is like
Messing with his mind.
messing with his mind, so he won't pay attention." And I'm like, that's a really interesting like perspective on it, right? Like, yeah,
There's so many things we don't know
yeah.
about the whole world. Well, that's one of the things that. Well, I don't want to go back to AI, but that's one of the things that's like coming soon. We're going to know a shit ton of everything that we didn't know.
Yeah, it's true. Did you see that thing? Because I might be a dad soon, so that's why I'm kind of asking you about this. Yeah.
Oh, congrats!
I know. Yeah. Hopefully it's mine. I think it is. We'll find out.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was this thing I was reading, like, and I was talking with a bunch of girls about this, like, older, they had kids and shit like that, and I was like, man, the Bedouins, there's some stories about like they used to take the baby and then not give it water for like a week, because they're in like heated like desert areas.
For the people listening, the Bedouins are like the people that just wander the desert.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the OG Arabs, basically. The pre-ISIS. Yeah, and so they would wander the desert, and like camels can hold a bunch of water, so that was their sort of selective evolution or something. But they would do this to the actual children. That like, they wouldn't let them drink water for like a week. Yeah, and then if the baby dies, then it's not cut out for the desert, and that's fine. And if it survives, they will breed it, like they'll let it survive and raise it.
So that's like intentional
Yeah,
natural selection.
yeah, intentional natural selection. It's like the Aboriginals when they.
And like the Spartans.
Yeah, what did the Spartans do? I don't know about.
Didn't they leave their kid out in the desert or in the wilderness for a while, and then they have to? I don't know.
Really? That's cool. I want to do that. Because, like, like I was asked the question of, like, get a blood test, check what's, like, wrong with your kid and all that stuff. And, like, scared, I might have this condition, might have that, blah, blah. And I'm just, like, I'm chatting with these, women that have had kids that are now 20s or whatever. And I was like, man, like, why don't you just let the kid die if it's supposed to die, Like, why is that such a radical idea? Like, and it's like, yeah, it's a survivorship bias thing where it's like, oh, we survived, so, but, like, I don't want to like have it be on a shit ton of drugs or a shit ton of, or if it has lupus or something, it's going to die when it's 18 or whatever. Like, I'm just like, if it shows that like, or if it's a Down syndrome kid, like I definitely want to kill it, even if it comes out, right? Or like drop it off at like a disabled thing. Because why the fuck would I like raise a Down syndrome kid,
That's Kantian justice. It's like, if you do something that harms or indirectly or directly harms someone, that's your fault.
Yeah.
Whereas if you don't do anything, it's not your fault. Oh, wait a minute. I just said it in the reverse. That would mean Kantian justice is in favor of you not doing anything to let nature take its course.
Yeah. Could you argue that you killed it or that it died? Right? What's an abortion at that rate? If you leave it sitting out in the dumpster and not feeding it, like the Elizabethan times where they throw them in the bin.
Jeepers.
Did you kill the baby or did you just let it like, if it has the rights of an individual at that time, should it be able to self-feed and self-care? And so it gets interesting, isn't it?
That's a big rabbit hole, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. There was a thing about, I can't remember now. I know about the trolley problem. You know about the trolley problem?
Oh, when you're going to hit the people or something.
Yeah. It's too simplified.
Yeah.
Like the trolley problem is if you do something and you intentionally kill someone. This is what I was talking about at Kantian.
Yeah.
If you change the course of something, so you kill someone who was not supposed to be killed, you're guilty of killing someone. Whereas if you don't do anything and a whole bunch of people happen to die
Yeah.
because they were in the path of a trolley. Trolley is supposed to represent death. The trolley represents death. The tracks are time. And the people tied to the tracks are the people that are on that timeline. So if you do something and divert it to another timeline,
Yeah.
end up killing someone who wasn't supposed to die,
Yeah.
you're guilty.
Right.
Whereas if you don't do anything and let the timeline continue, and the philosophy is, but I did something which resulted in less people dying than would have otherwise died.
Yeah.
So you could argue that you have saved humans, saved life because of your actions. Whereas if you didn't act, there would have been more loss of life.
Right.
But according to the justice system that we have, that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. Right.
So, for example, if you're a doctor
Yeah.
and you're at an ER and a person comes in that's perfectly healthy, they just got hit in the head by something, and they're just going to wake up and they'll be fine soon. They'll make a full recovery. They're in room 1. Room 2, 3, and 4, people come in. One of them has a collapsed lung. Another one's got a bad heart. Another one's got a whatever. And it just so happens that after you've done all your tests, you know that they're all compatible with each other. So do you go and you take that person who's completely healthy, take out their kidneys, take out their heart, take out their lungs, and perform operations on all the others so that 3 people live,
Yeah.
and let's say they were terminal before. Let's say 3 people live, but 1 person dies. You go to jail.
You would. Yeah.
You'd have your
Not in
life.
parts of South America, but yeah.
Yeah. So
Like there is an organ market. Like apparently, yeah. Like the Chinese buy organs.
yeah.
And like I don't know. My friend tells that like there's no homeless people in Mongolia, and he goes because every time there is, they take their organ.
Right.
I don't know how true that is, but like, like think about it. If you're doing well in society, and you are the power mechanism, like, who gives it? Like, wouldn't you take it from someone else? Like, why are we so against that idea? Is it because of personal morals and feelings about the world and what's right and what's wrong, religious, aspiration?
Wow.
But that whole trolley problem, it sounded a lot like American exceptionalism as well. Like, we have to do something to,
We're the only ones who
Justice in
can
the
do
world.
it. No one else can do it but us.
And who's to say, like, so it just depends on your sort of philosophy there.
That's, my brain's overloaded now.
Is it?
Too many
See
things
that
to think
thing?
about. But
It was like my friend showed me, it was the Animal Rights, Animal Justice Party. She was in Parliament and she goes, I feel you, cow. I see you, pig. I see you, cow. Like, as if they sort of see you back,
she anthropomorphized the animals.
The animals, like, we're about animal justice and we see you,
Yeah, yeah.
And I wanted to go up. I'm like, I wish I was in Parliament right now. I'd be like, I see you, cannibals. I see you,
It's a very slippery slope
Yeah.
because well, what I mean is, I have it on my Facebook
Kick this
feed.
out a bit.
Oh, did you?
Sorry.
Let me see.
Right.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
So I have on my news feed,
Yeah.
I somehow I must have liked some videos, and I get some videos of African safari
Yeah.
where you've got the last one I saw was 3 lions pulling a boar,
Yeah.
a wild boar, out of a hole and ripping it to shreds.
Yeah.
And while it's doing that, the wild boar is screaming. And as they rip it to shreds, its voice changes. Probably because its neck's getting ripped apart.
Fuck. Yeah.
That was horrific. And in the comments section, there's always somebody saying, why would you just sit and watch this? Why don't you go and do something? And I don't blame them. Like, those are people, that's their compulsion. That's, they say, why do you do this? But when I look at the big picture, and you look, this is happening all over the world.
On scale, yeah.
This is how the world works outside of civilization.
Yeah.
This is the default.
It is.
This is the food chain. The lions, the tigers, the bears, they will murder, they will rape, they will pillage. They'll do everything that we consider to be illegal, and that's just a Monday to them.
Even the cutest of animals, like the dolphins, would absolute rapists. Fuck.
That's right.
You know,
So it's like when you have domesticated animals, they are not in fight or flight mode. Like when you think about the life of a whatever, an animal.
yeah, like the fucking people when they have dogs and shit, and that famous joke of like, who would you think is in charge if the human is picking up the dog's shit? What a park, like. And like these things are so useless. These fucking dogs and cats, they can't do or hunt anything. They're like these little chihuahuas or whatever.
They have beautiful lives.
Yeah.
Right? They have beautiful lives. And so they have a huge portion of their life not in fight or flight, not looking over their shoulder. Their serotonin level, I'm assuming they have serotonin. They have happiness.
Yeah.
They can go around, do what they want to do without the fear of getting,
Freedom, yeah.
destroyed. Where animals in the wild, they're looking over their shoulder 24/7. And they'll sit there and they'll watch their child get eaten by a lion right in front of them. And
But which one of those two is more free? Right. I've started to think about this because I mean, there's a lot of people that are like, we're becoming extremely domesticated as the race, as a human race. Right? I don't know if you agree with this, but it's just that we're so anti-violence and we export it to the police or whatever, or military, that like, because we know the consequences and et cetera. But if you think about maybe I don't know if it is, but the animal justice people, for example, like, oh, we don't want to eat animals because that's cruel. Those same people would have pets that are useless, they'd lock them up in their house, basically.
all right, I see where you're going with
They'd
this.
de-sex them. They can't have kids.
Yes,
The pets themselves.
but you bring up a good point.
Yeah.
So these animal activists,
Yeah.
okay, they're advocating that we are oppressing animals or
Yeah.
causing them pain, but I would assert that the total amount of pain and suffering of these animals would be amplified by an order of magnitude if they were in the wild. I mean,
You reckon?
yeah.
Or they'd have shorter lives, but much more
They'd have shorter-
enjoyable.
How would they be enjoyable? Imagine right now is the zombie apocalypse. That's basically everywhere else out of civilization is literally the zombie apocalypse 24/7.
Yeah.
You're going from one place to another day to day, looking over your shoulder, about to get attacked by stuff.
Yeah. But isn't there a reason, for example, dogs only live till like 10 years old?
Yeah, it has to do with the distance between procreating and their population controls so that their population is stable, something like that. I can't remember. That's why, for example, turtles live to 150.
Yeah.
Certain, like the
Some
lifespan
don't even die.
extends
Yeah.
so that the species can procreate.
Procreate.
Like if a fly lived for
Correct.
100 years, the world would be packed with flies.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they live for what, a week, maybe less?
In order just to procreate.
Yeah.
Interesting. So the fact that we have lower procreation levels and at the same time the transhumanist thing.
Will extend our lifespan, apparently.
Interesting.
Well, we're selecting for people who can give birth later.
Later. Yeah. I find it fascinating, like a lot of societies now, like West, it's just fucking weird. Like you can have a baby at what, 16 or something, or 14 as a girl,
Technically, yeah.
But
Even
like,
earlier.
yeah, but financially, we've built all these systems where you can't have them until you're 30 for the average person, right? Because they can't afford to have them. Isn't that fucking weird? Like
Yeah,
how
there's-
nature is telling you to do it at this age, we've imposed society, which is forcing double or even more of that age.
That's true.
Isn't that
That's
interesting?
very interesting because it's like we because of our laws, we have to have one size fits all pretty much. So
By design, yeah.
so there could be all different types of cars, but go down this road, you have to do 60. Even if a car can do 100, it has to do 60.
Yeah.
Otherwise, how can you enforce it?
Yeah.
So yeah, same with medicine. Like apparently, for example, Panadol, all these different types of drugs, we would blanket say, okay, this is what you give. Apparently, there's the effective rate, the effective doses and all that. It varies
Right.
wildly depending on
Yep.
who you are and your genetic makeup. So
I wouldn't be surprised, yeah. And the way they do the studies to have them approved, like
Yeah.
who's in the genetic makeup of that.
yes,
Yeah.
and then so that's why there's that whole move towards personalized medicine where you can tailor the drug to the person, and that's going to be a big thing. Well, that's coming soon, hopefully.
Definitely.
So-
see that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I just find so many notions like interesting. Like, yeah, like you talk about, that was like one of my favorite quotes from a pirate TV show or something, where it's like, it's like a lion sees the world as his den, and that's what they never understood. And it's like, they is like society. And it's like, if I'm a lion, right, say you feel you want to have the qualities of a lion, the world is your den. Why should I say, no, this is mine, no, that belongs to you, no, this is
Ownership.
just society that we've created for whatever reason we thought it was wisdom, or, I would say entropic systems, just things sort of happen. Like my theory of why religion is still a thing, for example, and was a thing and was quite useful, is because of decentralized pussy. This is my theory. Yeah.
Okay, explain.
Because the idea of monogamy is like, you get a woman, I get a woman,
Yeah.
we don't kill each other over women. Right? Otherwise, you want to, because our dicks are made to be used 2, 3, depends how
Yeah,
horny you are, 6 times a day, whatever. And every day we're supposed to be like, ejaculating inside
Yeah.
a woman to kind of encode our DNA and to
Yeah.
to procreate. But if I was to do that, if I was to have 80 girls, I'd have to take them from other people. I'd have to conquer them, concubines, slaves, etc.
Yeah.
And like and then I would be killed by the next monkey.
Yes. That kind of still happens.
It's still.
Kings, leaders, emperors, and all that. So
I think it explains drunk behavior as well on Friday nights. I call it like the bonobo theory. Like why do you so intent when they're drunk? They want to. There's certain like races of people that just really want to fight when they not, they don't think about the consequences,
Yeah.
the return. If I had a knife, I could kill you right then and there. Like, why are you, like, I'm very well aware of that because I had a friend that, like, you don't know the enemy, like, what they could bring, what someone's got a gun, whatever.
yeah.
But, like, they're so intent that they feel like they have to be bonobos because there's, like, 1 or 2 hot girls there that might allude to, like, a different guy. It's like a real story. I just, like, got into a fight with, like, 4 guys or something.
Jeepers.
Yeah, because I was trying to pick up this girl, and then this other girl didn't want me to pick her up. Then those guys thought they had to do something about it, and like they it's like pure bonobo behavior that they have to like show that they're the boss,
Right,
by
yeah,
beating
yeah.
someone up. Like monkeys.
Yeah. That's what they do. Yeah.
And I'm like, bro, it's so interesting that you'd think we're smart enough that we would see our own behavior, but every Friday night, it's the same thing. And then those girls might not even fuck those guys, but they have to express like, I own you now.
Yep.
I've beaten this person up. You belong to me.
Yes.
And, you know,
I think I have an explanation that I came up with over a long time.
yeah.
So I think that we have two sets of evolutionary levels to us. Like the other animals have one.
Right.
They have the baseline biology level. And we have a second level because of how we evolved our brains.
Because we took shrooms or something.
Yeah. So how about this? So but in biology, I'll start in the brain. So we have four different tenets of the way we operate. We have information transfer. We have competition and collaboration. We would collaborate, and then our collaborators would compete with other collaborators.
Yeah.
We would then find limits. So, okay, how far can we take this concept or whatever? And then finally, okay, we've done all of that. Information transfer, competition, collaboration, finding limits. Let's try this new thing based on that. So eureka, like I'll come up with a new idea. Those are the four things that are required for a system to evolve.
Right. Okay.
Okay, you need those four. And in the beginning of the universe, those four things were completely random events. Random information transfer, random competition, collaboration, random finding limits, random eureka. In fact, they probably had to happen in that order. So you would have, eventually after billions of years, you'd have something that could somehow copy the information. That's RNA. It would copy itself at the chemical level.
Replicate.
And then it would take and that was, now it went from random to intentional. Intentional copying. Then competition and collaboration. We went from single-celled to multi-celled organisms, collaborating together and competing with each other. Finding limits. Okay, so how big can we get? How small can we get? How high in the mountains can we get? Whatever. So in the Cambrian explosion, there was an explosion of basically through the competing models, all these different forms of life. And we would have genetic mutations that would change the genetic makeup and create new types of things. And they would usually fail because they would be, most of the time, a genetic error results in either the cell not working or but slowly there would be a tweak and it would be an advantage, and then that would take over the rest of that particular species, and it would evolve. Like, for example, our eyes, it would track the sun. The plants would track the sun, and then it evolved into multiple eyes, and then it became where we are now. We've got eyes we could see a lot. Then eventually, when it came down to apes, and then Neanderthals and Homo sapiens, I think we're the first species to have virtualized those four tenets in our brain.
Right.
So we have information transfer. I'm transferring information to you right now.
Yeah.
Competition and collaboration. So collaborate. Oh, yeah, that sounds like this, and I'm going to add this to it. Or competition. Oh, I don't think of that point. I will counter it with this point. Finding limits. Well, how far can we take this? You know, we built a new AI bin. How far can we take this bin? And then eureka. We've done all that. I'm going to come up with something else.
Something else.
So they're the four tenets. Now, when we got those four tenets a couple of 100,000 years ago, perhaps, that is like orders of magnitude faster than the biological evolutionary tract. Like, to come up with a new, let's say, what do you want to eat for dinner? And people, that's like information transfer. I'm going to have pizza. Oh, what do you guys think? Yeah, I'll have pizza. Oh, what about chicken? We'll have chicken. So there's competition and collaboration. Finding limits. How much chicken? Eureka. Oh, you know what? How about we go Italian instead? That took seconds. It took seconds to do that entire iteration.
Yeah.
What would it take for a biological system to do that? you'd have cells. They would procreate. There would be a mutation. They would go out in the world and see if it works better or worse, and then they would procreate again. It would take days, weeks, months. We've squished that whole interaction into seconds,
Quick experiments.
right? So it was only a matter of time before our virtualized version of this evolutionary process would overtake the biological version. Hence why I'm sitting in a studio right here.
Yeah.
We're using a microphone to connect to a computer to record our voice.
Yeah.
And we've got internet and satellites and all the rest. It's all external to us
External, yeah.
because that evolutionary process is happening orders of magnitude faster than the biological still happening,
Yeah.
but it's all external now.
Yeah.
And now we're at another cusp where we've taken the way our brain works and we've got our computers and we're putting a artificial brain together,
Yeah.
and it's going to go orders of magnitude faster than our brain can think.
Yeah. So we don't even know
We don't even know where this is going.
what's going. Yeah.
So, what do you think of that?
Pretty cool. It's pretty fucking mind blowing. I like that thesis. It's really interesting.
I can't even remember what your question was. I got carried away with my answer.
I don't know. All I heard today was like, because I checked the blood test of like, I might be a carrier of sickle cell. Right?
Anemia,
Sickle cell.
sickle cell.
Yeah.
I thought this. I don't know much about. Like I thought sickle cell anemia is the
Oh,
thing.
is it? I don't know. I just first time I'm kind of hearing about it.
Okay.
But then you said something interesting, which, and again, I don't know anything about it, but like that it just means that the way your blood cells carry oxygen, you know, usually in the animations they're like circle. Our blood cells are circle. Because if you're sickle cell, it's kind of like a snake, like it's curled up.
Oh. Okay.
And he goes, it's not really. He goes, not really an issue unless you're in colder climates.
Oh.
He goes, it's common for people of your heritage because we're like supposed to be in the desert or whatever.
Oh, so it doesn't matter if that trait gets passed down. Doesn't mean anything.
I don't think it means anything.
Right,
No.
yeah.
So like that's this thing that we might consider a disease or whatever. It's like it's also subjective to the environment. Whereas it would have been an asset to have this because it's resistant to malaria. It means you're more resistant to malaria.
You can't get malaria?
I don't know if I can't get malaria, but I'm saying like
That's
they
pretty
said-
good.
Yeah, like we actually do have these like things that we consider as cons that are probably just cons in our current environment.
Yeah.
But these biological things might be in different environments really useful. You see what I mean? Like, why is it like a skin condition is so bad? But like, surely there must have been an evolutionary reason, unless you're genetically deformed or some shit. You know, like you're.
Wow,
Do you know what I mean?
that is an interesting point.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I was just thinking about that as you were saying about the process, because I was trying to understand the biological length of time it takes us to conduct, I don't know, an evolutionary cycle or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what is our evolution going to be? Like, just swapping out parts, like, oh, our heart's no longer working, but we've cloned a human that we
Yeah.
can use their hearts.
It's like as soon as we get control of the full stack,
Yeah.
you know, from cellular to limbic system to, you know, organs,
Yeah.
you could do whatever you want because you have control of the full stack.
What does it mean to be human at that stage, you know? Consciousness and all the rest of it. I'd just rather be a puppy, you know? You know what I mean? Like, when you think about these things, it's like, how useful is it? It's like, it's fun. I enjoy it. But it's like, well, to a certain degree, I just like understand. I think I'm a bit more of a fatalist these days where I'm just like,
I was going to say nihilist.
not, yeah.
You just need a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nihilists
go.
tend to be depressed. I don't think I'm depressed.
Oh, okay.
You know, I feel like I've just accepted the world, like whether it's realism or even idealism. Like I just consider those things as part of the world. You know,
It is how it is.
yeah. I don't think humans are separate to the
Nature.
simulation or nature
right,
or
yeah.
that. You know, any of it, right? Nature and all. I'm like, oh, if we came up with these ideas, if someone was able to murder somebody else, like that is a natural thing. Like why? Do you know, like,
We had to do things to make society work, I guess.
yeah, because it's like, well, how can you let it stand? You know, blood must have blood. If somebody kills something, how can you let that stand? Because now it's like that person's a threat.
Yeah, well, there is different societal systems that they might allow that, I guess. I guess our system is just not.
Like the Mongols, man, would fucking go in, just absolutely destroy and rape
Yeah.
and burn everyone, and you know, different cultures. Most cultures have done that kind of stuff. Like, this is the thing about the Israel-Palestine thing that I find interesting. It's like, oh, look how horrible it is that they're like, you know, they've colonized an area, the Israelis, and they're putting people, they're subjugating them in like, you know, whatever, an open air prison. Whether you buy the narrative or not, but that's kind of what's happening, right? And then it's like. And then the Israelis can be like, oh, no, but we have these terrorists to deal with. But really, really, fundamentally, every civilization, every society, every tribe historically has killed other people.
Oh, yeah. Oh, humanity. Oh, my gosh.
They've
Just
killed,
killed
they've
and
conquered,
killed and
they've
killed.
raped, they've destroyed.
Yeah.
And so, like, yeah, okay, post-World War II, US is in charge of the world. We've decided United Human Rights, UN, blah, 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 Charter.
Geneva Convention.
Geneva Convention.
Yeah.
But really, it's a bunch of crap. It's a document that nobody else can enforce. Right?
Except the US.
Yeah, and even them, they have their limits, right? Because they have other countries that have some power. So, yeah, the US might be stronger than China or Russia or whatever, but those guys also have nukes. They also can put some serious damage.
It's all about force projection and threat of annihilation.
Yeah. And so, like, I'm like on the impression that like where you grew up, moral rights and wrongs, you're not supposed to do this because it's against the other person's human rights. The golden rule, you know.
Yeah. What you do to me, I do to you. Don't do it to me, blah, blah, blah.
Exactly. But like the reality of like all of human history, that doesn't exist. The Neanderthals don't exist because we killed them. You know,
That's a
you
good
are the
point, yeah.
combination of your great, I don't know, it depends how far back it goes, but that are probably raping and fucking and, you know, killing a bunch of people. Like, you know, maybe your great-great-grandmother didn't want your great-great-grandfather, but he took her from some other dude.
Yeah.
And then, like, you know,
Well, that's
created
why
the kid. And then,
yeah, and we have all of these different basic instincts that help us navigate the world, and we you know, like
and we can't use them.
we could be jealous, envious,
Yeah.
and it would have been because, you know, back then there's a guy with a cave
Yeah.
in a better position, and anyone who went there and got that was successful and passed on their genes, and everyone that said, oh, you know what, we'll just leave them there, okay, they've got a better cave, good for them, they died.
Yeah.
And so now we all have the ability to get envious and jealous, and it's because it worked before.
My cousin's a builder, and he tells this one. It's pretty funny. He was talking to his mate, and he goes, man, you think like all this like money thing, building houses, look at my house, look at my car, look, you know, the materialist projection that we all, a lot of us are sort of subject to or believe in or buy into. You think when we were like apes and, you know, living in caves and shit, you think that was a thing? And then his mate goes, well, say you had a cave, say I had a cave. My cave would be clean. It'll have a carpet, you know, fur, you know, it'll have like a little candlelight. You know, the girls are going to want to come to my cave, not yours. You know, so I just always find that funny where it's just like, yeah, it's a good thesis of like, you know, of that kind of behavior. So back to your jealousy thing and like,
Yeah.
why, why that
Because it worked.
it worked.
It worked. It's like that's what we have because they're the ones that won and passed on their genes.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, if you want to go, it's way easier to have like a house and or an alpaca or whatever the fuck you go into, or a
Alpaca.
you know, or like, you know, some, you know, food or status or some, you know, some bullshit just to like make them go, oh, okay, he can like look after.
Support me, protect me.
He can be my Centrelink, you know. So, you know, it sort of makes sense, right? Like, I found it interesting. Like, there's, I think in the Vol, he goes, he talks about the status and wealth game, like how we're all playing either a status game or a wealth game, or maybe a
both.
bit of both.
Yeah.
It's like the doctor is like maybe trying to get status, maybe even money as well, and then a lot of people like, oh, I want to be rich is like the main driver of like a lot of
Yeah.
people. And I told my friend this, and he's like, he's a bit high and a bit, so, but he goes, man, I thought about it. It's like, man, I don't want to play these games. I want to play the peace game. I'm like, oh, that's an interesting, like, rabbit hole to go in. Like, what does that mean? Like, you want to be a monk, or like you want to shave your head? Like, what? What's As like, and you can look at like, I think a lot of people don't think about what motivates them fundamentally as a concept. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They don't truly think about it. Like I talk about, like, I was talking to my dad, and it was like, and he said, he made a comment. He's like, it's weird that, like, like he's kind of regretful that he wasn't as successful as he wanted to be. Like, he's done pretty well in his life. Financially not too bad. Like, pretty good. But he just had this, because he was a competitor, like volleyball, this, that, like when he was young as an athlete.
Yeah.
And he just hated the fact that, like, he didn't do as well as he wanted to. And like, a lot of his programming is around regret. It's really weird to talk to him. But I don't see why. Like, I think it's dumb. But like, and he goes, and I go to him, well, I think your problem is, and I thought about this a lot to finally come here. It's a lack of focus of what you want, like what your motivator is and what you want, right? Because a lot of people that, I don't know if you're like this, but if you set your eye to something and you truly like make that your thing, you will get that outcome. I think a lot of humans are like that, but he would have competing interests that would stop him, where it's like, okay, being successful financially is one, having a successful family could be another one, having an impact for humanity could be another one, having status amongst your community by looking like a good community member, another one. A lot of people have a shit ton of these like competing priorities that don't sound competing, but they actually are. Because, for example, I want to like not be a pariah to my community. That could be against the priority of like making a shit ton of money.
Oh yeah.
You know
I
what I
see
mean?
that, yeah.
Like, they can conflict. Spending time with your family, trying to be there if you want to be a good family person, can conflict with
Making money
or other things. And I'm like, it's simple. If you wanted one of those outcomes, you can get 100% of it. Say it was like a scorecard, and like how successful you are in each of those as a metric. You can get 100% of one of them. Our human capabilities could probably pull off one of them. Now you have two of them, it probably drops, so maybe you can get 90%.
Actually, yeah, this makes sense.
You got three of them, 80%, 70%, four of them.
Yeah.
And so you can't just go, fuck it, like I'm focusing, like you want to make money, counterfeit money. Like, there's so many other ways, but we put constraints around it by going, no, I want to not be a community pariah. I want to be a family man. I want to not go to jail. I want to like not. There's all these constraints that then stop people from just like succeeding massively in one specific outcome.
Yeah, that's right. That's absolutely right.
And so, I was like, I thought about that a lot, and I'm like, well, that's the reason it's like people aren't, they don't get the outcomes. Because if you're studying 7 subjects, like you're going to get a lower mark than studying one subject,
That's it's true.
So anyway, that was something I thought I'd share.